In a land of cruise ships and slick cars, it seems everything's new in Miami. Auto detailer Luis Gross makes new cars sparkle to perfection, but it's an old car he's most proud of. Luis rebuilt this 1951 Chevy truck himself, using skills he learned over a lifetime of oppression. Luis grew up in Cuba. Like millions of others, his life and future were under the control of Cuban President Fidel Castro.
Tenía guaraperas.
To earn money, Luis invented a machine to squeeze juice from sugarcane. He sold sweet drinks to tourists, but the government took his machine and livelihood away. So Luis took off for America. In 2003, news media the world over broadcast this image: a dozen Cubans sailing for freedom aboard an old green Chevy truck. Luis and his 3-year-old son, Angel, were on board. Luis explained to me that few new cars entered Cuba after the revolution in the 1950s, but his old one worked just fine. He tells me he was scared, building the boat in secret and pushing from shore in the dark of night. But he was willing to risk everything for a better life in America. The Coast Guard eventually caught up with the travelers, sent them back to Cuba, and sank the original truck. This one is an exact replica, a symbol of freedom, on display at the Miami Chevy dealership, where Luis now earns his living. So how did he finally get here if the Coast Guard sank the truck? In a 1959 Buick.
Well, he didn't come here to slouch or collect unemployment or welfare.
Assistant Service Manager Aiden Sierra says Luis is clearly a skilled engineer, now a model employee.
He's a good worker.
Luis is awesome. He's like one of the best guys. He'll never give us problems. He's happy all the time, always positive.
Thank you.
Everybody likes him, and he just does one car after the other like a robot. I mean, he's fast. At the end of the day, his work is clean.
As for the truck, it's licensed both as a motor vehicle and a water vessel.
It's hybrid. It's amphibious is what it is.
What is that?
The dealership will entertain any offers, but can't begin to put a price on this symbol of freedom.
He doesn't speak English and he's not from here, but he's about as American, would you say, as anybody you know?
Maybe more. Because some people that were actually born in this country talk bad about it and don't defend it when other people talk bad about it, and are not proud of being born here, and have a lot of bad things to say about it when he really has none of those. He loves, I mean, this is it, he made it. This is his Mecca.
What do you miss about Cuba?
My people, my country, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Luis says the truck is a symbol for everyone who shares the American dream of liberty and freedom. Freedom that he'd set sail for any day.
The United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba. We will begin to normalize relations between our two countries. I took a walk through this beautiful world, felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Cuba's been sitting here for like 55 years now, half an hour away, basically giving the biggest superpower in the world the stiff middle finger. 50 plus years of animosity, embargo, rationing, and Fidel Castro is still hanging on. But recently, there are powerful indications that everything is about to change.
We are at Jaimanita, a little fishing town. This place is called Casa Santi, owned by two brothers that go out and fish every morning and bring fresh seafood.
Okay, humble fishing village, traditional fishing family.
Yes?
We're about to eat sushi. What's going on in this country, man?
Things are changing, Anthony. What can I say? My name is Hugo Pencio. I was born in Cuba. I was in one of Cuba's most prominent schools. When I made a joke about President Fidel Castro, I was a teenager, and the kid that slept on the bunk bed on top of me recorded our conversation, and I was expelled from school. My mom said the only choice is for us to leave Cuba. I'm a businessman. I've lived in Miami for 35 years as my home base. I come back and forth to Cuba. I've been coming to Cuba for over 20 years. I mean, Cuba is a communist country in economic transition. You know, since Raul Castro allowed Cubans to establish more businesses, there are people that are making money. There are people that have created a tremendous amount of wealth.
People with family connections to the States, people tied to the exploding tourist industry, small business owners, taxi drivers, people operating in ever-changing gray areas of what is permissible.
How's it work right now? If you're Cuban, you can sell your property
To another Cuban,
from Cuba.
and that's what's happening right now. A lot of Cuban Americans, a lot of Cubans living abroad are now coming back and through relatives are buying property. Obviously, somebody has touched this building with some kind of investment. It's renovated. It seems to be like a hotel. Somebody bought the building and turned it into a little hotel.
However you feel about the government, however you feel about the last 55 years, there aren't any places in the world that look like this. I mean, it's utterly enchanting.
It's very seductive.
There is no doubt in my mind that somewhere on the opposite of like the Four Seasons hotel chain, they're looking at the seafront and thinking, you know, one of these days, you know, and cruise ships, you know, what happens then? Well, look, is this inevitable march of progress? Am I being a snob?
No, you're being very realistic, and that's the concern of most Cubans. I wouldn't mind seeing one or two Starbucks around Havana. In fact, I'm hoping that we don't go back to 1958, when the majority of Cuban companies were owned by American corporations.
Right.
I have got to believe that Cuba want to preserve some of the value that represents, you know, the hearts and soul of the Cuban people.
Last time I was in Havana, a meal at a paladar would have been rice and beans. Now, sushi, a certain sign of impending apocalypse.
That's good. Yeah. 10 years ago, this restaurant would have never been allowed, not only because private businesses were not allowed, but the external influence that you're seeing. Remember, this is a country where chewing gum or listening to the Beatles were prohibited. I don't think we all need to have Twitter every day. I mean, one of the things I love about coming to Cuba is the fact that I could put my iPhone away. Who cares? Look what we have around us. And I hope that Cubans, as they continue to have access to free information, they will still want to preserve this family times.
Tourists have been coming to Cuba for some time. Predominantly Europeans, many of them men of a certain age looking for, how shall we say, company. But now it looks like Americans looking to live out fantasies of Godfather 2 will soon be able to do so. And it's all still here for them. But there's new stuff, too. This is certainly new. Fabrica de Arte, the hottest spot in Havana. A nightclub, performance space, art gallery, highlighting artists, musicians, and DJs from around the world. Questlove is scheduled to DJ here tomorrow night.
It's like a big bag when all the arts can fit inside.
What is going on here? I ask Inti Herrera and Ex Alfonso, two of the young entrepreneurs behind the place.
Nothing like this never existed before. Did the Government Bureau of Arts help you?
We had, at the beginning, we had subsidy from the Ministry of Culture. Even the building, we asked for the building because it was abandoned for 30 years.
And the place is very popular.
Right now, yes.
Who comes here?
It's people that love art, but at the same time it's very diverse.
It attracts a once unthinkable mix of foreigners and locals and enjoys the actual support of the government, without whom, of course, it couldn't exist.
Our chef here, Lisette, is part of the art world, you know, here.
A ceviche of dogfish with pickled vegetables. Loin of pork, pan-seared with yuca, and a riff on a traditional orange sauce with garlic and coriander.
Good. Pretty good. What do you think's going to happen when the door opens and you've got hundreds of thousands of Americans flooding here, looking desperately to spend money on anything Cuban?
I don't know, man, we are a small country, no? Yeah. We have to adapt to new things, but I think it's a good challenge.
I guess I'm asking, how do you keep it real when you'll all probably be millionaires in a few years?
Us?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's not our goal in life, but that's...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going to have more factories.
More factories.
Es una historia eterna que llena todo el alma.
Havana still looks like you want it to look. Or maybe just how I want it to look.
Romantic swing, sliding into love in the silence of night.
What was once one of the wealthiest cities in Latin America, left to the elements, left to collapse, or frozen gloriously in time. In fits and starts, Cuba is changing.
Gentlemen, come on in. I was hoping it was room service.
Nothing has happened like this in Cuba before, ever.
Nice to meet you. Hope you get my name. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones.
It's going to be a real adventure of discovery.
In several countries, rock and roll was banned.
Te oía esa música y se le daban preso.
The minute you ban something, you're going to create a movement.
¿Cómo puedes parar el rock and roll?
La música no tiene frontera.
Los están acá, es una religión los están acá.
As Cubans prepare for the arrival of the Rolling Stones,
They never believed that this could happen.
To break into somewhere new is an exciting chapter.
Meeting new people is a real source of inspiration.
It is like a circus. It's a circus we've made.
It's a very emotional thing to be in the middle of that crowd.
It's the same feeling as when I first joined.
They're going to see something they've never seen before, and they're going to hear something they've never heard before. That's the name of the game.
So much to keep track of. All right, thank you so much, Meredith. Happening today, Carnival Cruise Lines are saying bon voyage and heading to Cuba. Avery Cotton is live at Port Tampa Bay this morning. So, Avery, a lot of excitement for those setting sail today.
Yeah, good morning, Gail. It's a big day for the city of Tampa. The Carnival Paradise leaves for its inaugural 4-day trip to Havana today. In fact, we just saw the ship pull into port, so things are starting to wake up here at Port Tampa Bay. Now, this is a big deal because for decades, cruise ships have not been allowed to dock in Cuba and were forced to go around the huge island just south of Florida. But back in February, they did get the go-ahead to start traveling to Havana. In fact, Royal Caribbean actually started cruises out of Tampa to Cuba back in April, and now Carnival is offering 4- and 5-day trips to Havana and back, including an overnight stay in the harbor.
which gives people plenty of time in the evening to enjoy all the evening activities, whether it be going ashore for a restaurant or whether it be going to the famous shows like the Tropicana.
Travel agents have told us that Cuba cruises are so popular, the cruise line industry is adding itineraries. But when President Trump announced new restrictions on travel for Americans, many wondered how it would affect their travel plan to the island. Now, while most of the president's changes appear to be minimal, one of the most notable is that tourists will no longer be able to take individual tours. Rather, they will have to go on certified group tours. Carnival, meanwhile, is still looking deeper into everything to see what else could possibly affect passengers on these trips. Now, today's cruise does leave today at 11 o'clock. We understand there's going to be a lot of celebrating down here at the port, and we will be here for all of that. And Gail, I hear there's also going to be a large Cuban sandwich at sea. So we'll be here for that, and we'll also be talking with passengers as they get ready to board for this trip.
I'm going to need to sample that sandwich just to make sure it's okay before it heads out to sea. All right, thanks.
What's up, everybody? This is Carmelo Anthony. I'm riding down to Malecon in Cuba. My first time here in Cuba.
¿Qué piensan ustedes del fútbol cubano? El fútbol cubano muy malo. Malo. Porque el problema es que el deporte aquí en Cuba ya está bien determinado. La política del sistema nunca ha permitido que Cuba se expanda en el deporte.
For the U.S., for Cuba, you know, the way that the game of soccer is growing now worldwide, so I think it's perfect for the two countries to come in.
No, de Copa prácticamente no sé nada, pero yo me imagino, por lo que he escuchado, ¿no?, que va a ser más un partido que se iría más buscando más, acercándose más a una relación política que competitiva.
¿Es como de segunda categoría? Sí, de segunda, no es la MLS.
The New York team came in and scored 4 goals back to back to back to back. The Cuban team, they had 1. That's all that mattered though. At least they got on the board. They fans got a chance to erupt. It's all good, man. Right now I'm in the middle, the heart of old Havana. I didn't realize that I had that many fans down here.
Saw you last night.
Where?
And the Melia.
Oh, see. Yes.
Did you see Pele?
Yes. I thought I was gonna be incognito, but it's all good, man. The love is in the air. I'm excited to be here, and I'm just enjoying this. You know, I thought I would be able to get a cigar any and everywhere, like everybody would just be on the corner. The vendors would just be running up to you with cigars, but I think I'm going to a place right now. It's my favorite one of all time. Yeah. Those are tough. I'm about to pass out in here. I'm so excited. I'm a big fan of cigars, Cuban primarily. You think we'll be here for a while? Cuba was like one of the places that was on my bucket list to come here. Like what it really tastes like to have a real Cuban cigar from here. We're rolling them over here, man. Where? Hola. He's just rolled this.
Y trabajo aquí hecho en la casa mía. Muy bueno, 5 años de añejamiento. Ahora, capote.
acumulado, la combustión. This is Cubano finest. Esto es el pañuelo, ¿eh? Esto que voy a hacer aquí, ¿ves? You just lost me on that joint right there. Vamos al dedo. Aquí se gusta. Se usa esta hoja, la capa, la última. Gracias. Thank you. This might be one of my new favorites. So I gotta figure out how to get the house cigars in my house. Don't get better than this. This is classic Cuban soccer. The streets is watching.
I have an social project in Old Havana, named Barrio Havana, because it's the neighborhood of Old Havana. All of them want to play soccer in the street. And it's easy. Why? Because baseball or basketball need more things, but football just...
You need the ball and that's it.
Exactly. He's now the goalkeeper of the Cuban team, but he started in the neighbors. He started in the street. And Fiallo is the number 9, also started in the street. So both are from Old Havana. They are now one of the best players of our team.
Explain the difference between indoor soccer and street soccer.
Street soccer basically is when you play in the street, 3-3.
Right.
When you play indoor soccer, that 5-5 with a different kind of organization. When you want to change, it's not exactly like the football with 11 people. It's like in basketball. You enter and go out, enter and go out constantly.
Substitute.
It's substitute.
I started playing street ball first, and then obviously I started going indoors. But if it wasn't for street ball, I wouldn't be who I am today.
He's one of us. He's one of us.
So it's in the streets, it's kind of every man for themselves in the streets. So you gotta learn.
Hard.
It's becoming hard. Learn how to survive.
They want a picture, of course. First of all, he loves the baseball. He knows everything about baseball. Right. But he plays soccer and he likes soccer.
Right. If he's a baseball, he loves baseball.
Yeah.
Why he loves soccer?
Es el deporte que estamos promoviendo la juventud ahora. En Cuba se está jugando últimamente más soccer que béisbol, porque estamos siguiendo más el fútbol de Madrid, el Barça.
I'm watching. They put a lot of things in perspective for me to let me know and remind me of how hard I had to work, especially after seeing the indoor soccer game. But right now we headed to a real street ball soccer game. Just kids playing. Just kind of showing you the different facets of soccer, how it's growing down here. We saw the professional soccer, indoor soccer. We're about to see the real street soccer. So you're getting all facets of soccer. People need to see where it starts from and where all the great players come from. So we're on our way there now. Old Havana kind of reminds me of Old San Juan in Puerto Rico. I kind of thought it would look like this. Not quite like this, but it's beautiful over here, man. It's just free. It's like even though there's worries, there's no worries. See what I mean? See the love? You know, I'm looking at the talent that's out here and I'm seeing how much talent it is, untapped talent. A lot of the kids out here, a lot of the players out here, they just need opportunity. They have the game, they have the spirit, they're hungry, they got something to prove. So you gotta give them an opportunity. And by me being out here, I think it's great, you know, especially with what I'm about to do in Puerto Rico from kind of a football standpoint.
Basically, this is the place when they develop. Look at this.
That's the kid that was at the...
Yeah. It's amazing. He is one of the best young players in Old Havana. He's part of the very good team, and he's here.
el Estadio de Jose Marti. Here, hundreds of Cubans meet up in the evenings to play soccer, baseball, and volleyball. While baseball is Cuba's national sport, soccer has started to become increasingly popular. Danielo Vargas plays soccer at the stadium and explains why it has grown.
So right now, young people would rather play football than soccer, than baseball. I mean, besides, it's cheaper to play football than baseball. To play football, you need just a ball, 4 stones or whatever, and that's it. Then if you're going to play baseball, you need bat, balls, baseball gloves, so it's pretty much more expensive.
Cheaper equipment is one reason for soccer's rise, but Cubans, according to Vargas, have become infatuated with Spanish soccer on television. Many Cubans either root for FC Barcelona or Real Madrid, two of the most popular teams in the world. The problem with soccer in Cuba is that Cubans are not allowed to become professional athletes. This leads to many players to defect from the country. One of Cuba's best soccer players is Osvaldo Alonso, who currently plays for the Seattle Sounders of Major League Soccer. Alonso defected from Cuba in 2007 and since has become one of the best soccer players in the United States.
Sometimes they rather go to the States to, when you're playing a certain kind of sports, you just, sometimes you hit a wall because you're not playing against the best teams or the best guys in that world. So sometimes they just try to go to the States and try to play the best teams and the best players. Besides, money is also an issue. So here they don't get paid. They go there, they get paid.
The rise.
Daniel's burning ambition was to try out for David Beckham's new professional soccer franchise in the city of Miami. It would have been easy for him to defect during a government-sanctioned soccer tournament in the US, but the families of defectors were always victimized back in Cuba in retaliation. His other alternative was to join the boat people and be celebrated as a hero if he made the trip across the Straits of Florida. Problem was, only 1 in 4 made it, rest being turned back, drowned, or eaten by sharks. Besides, Daniel hated the water, so he found another way.
Just ride to the Gimnasio de Boxeo. We're going to go check out a local boxing match and see if we can talk with some of the kids who are involved with the fighting here. It's pretty exciting to see young kids encouraged and enthusiastic about just being active and staying healthy and fit. So I want to see what it's all about. Let's go.
Out of the 100,000 athletes currently residing in Cuba, 20,000 of them are boxers, and of those 20,000, 80 of them are Olympic contenders, and of those 80, a select 12 will compete in Brazil at the 2016 Olympics. The value of sports in Cuba is much different than that of a capitalist society. Here it is taught that sports is a means before everything else, as a way of understanding discipline, self-improvement, and developing character, all of which are supposed to in return contribute to the greater community of the country. Cuba has for the most part reached its goals of mass participation and democratization of sports, and in doing so, they've achieved unprecedented international success in especially baseball and boxing.
Sí, ¿y cuántos días en la semana necesita practicar para este?
Yo tengo 2 días a la semana, son todos los días.
¿Todos los días?
Todos los días.
Todos los días. Todo el tiempo.
Sábado y domingo.
Bueno, ¿y cómo te llamas?
Rangel Amor Ruiz.
Tú no tienes edad para eso ya. El boxeo es un deporte solo para hombres. Tanto sacrificio no vale la pena. Las mujeres no son suficientemente fuertes para boxear. Deja la dieta esa, que tanta dieta ni tanta cosa. Mi sueño es que aprueben el boxeo femenino en Cuba para poder pelear, representar mi país y ser campeón olímpico. Mi nombre es Amilio Flores Rodríguez. Y soy boxeadora.
Pose for the photo. 1, 2.
There is something unusually touching about the people of this forbidden island, and their expressions speak volumes in photograph. People tell me stories through their eyes. No words need to be spoken, so I listen.
Entonces le pregunté a él. ¿A dónde es el Careca?
Careca,
una aquí.
Yo creo que se la quitaron, pero lo que hay de automático eso de sacar dinero. Hay otra que está dentro de la terminal de ómnibus. Dentro de la terminal de ómnibus. No, la única que hay. Terminal de ómnibus.
Tenemos que coger un carro para ir.
No, caminando. A pie, semáforo. Sí. Semáforo. Derecha. Semáforo. Terminal grande de ómnibus.
Okay, ¿cuántas cuadras?
1, 2, 4 y 2, 6 cuadras. Caminar que estás joven.
Bueno, gracias.
You know, the one dreaded, excruciatingly painstaking problem that me, a spoiled American who wants everything quick, fast, and in a hurry had about Cuba is that everybody has to wait for everything, everywhere, all the time. Want 5 minutes of Wi-Fi to send an email? Sure, no problem, but you'll have to wait at least an hour in line first. And the same goes for the bank, the bakery, and just about every other place imaginable. You'll find a line of people outside waiting to be seen. But the Cubans have figured out how to make the waiting a little less painful. They've created a system where they simply ask, ¿Quién es el último? Or who is last? And once they figure that out, they can then go about handling other errands within close proximity, always keeping an eye on that person who is immediately before them.
That's it.
Stay tuned, because up next, we're taking a tour around the city of Havana in the back of a drop-top Chevy.
As promised, we're getting ready to take a tour around the city of Havana in this 1949 Chevy. Only in Cuba could you do something like this and get away with wearing a hat like this, so don't judge me. But I hope you're ready, because we're going on a tour of the entire city. Let's go.
Bahama Alley, which is every Sunday they have rumba music here, which is heavily influenced by African culture. So when you come to Cuba, you're gonna want to make sure you stop by here if you really want to get a true, authentic experience. Only on Sundays. I'm excited. Let's go.
This alleyway is famous for its Afro-Cuban art and ancient rituals where Santeria priests attempt to invoke the spirits of Orisha through dance and drums. Arriving as slaves in the Caribbean, Santerians preserved several elements of their religion, many of which can still be seen throughout Cuba today.
Oh my God.
What happened, baby? Hello. Hello, baby. Oh my God. What happened?
Mamita, te llamé. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
What are you doing right now?
Right now I'm sitting here next to John Lennon, who's actually never been to Cuba, but he represents peace for the Cuban people here in this country. And there's a gentleman whose job it is to protect these glasses. Oh, there he is right there, yes.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien. And it's his job, hired by the government, to protect these glasses because they've actually been taken over 100 times by the people of Cuba because they're bronze and they're of value. So it's his job to sit here all day, and when people come to take pictures, he puts on the glasses, and me and John are photo ready. ¿Qué pasa?
Fábrica de Arte, the hottest spot in Havana. A nightclub, performance space, art gallery, highlighting artists, musicians, and DJs from around the world. Questlove is scheduled to DJ here tomorrow night.
It's like a big bag when all the art can fit inside.
What is going on here? I ask Inti Herrera and Ex Alfonso, two of the young entrepreneurs behind the place.
Nothing like this ever existed before. Did the Government Bureau of Arts help you?
We have, at the beginning, we have subsidies from the Ministry of Culture. Even the building, we asked for the building because it was abandoned for 30 years.
The place is very popular.
Right now, yes.
Who comes here?
It's people that love art, but at the same time it's very diverse.
It attracts a once unthinkable mix of foreigners and locals and enjoys the actual support of the government, without whom, of course, it couldn't exist.
Our chef here, Lisette, is part of the art world, you know, here.
A ceviche of dogfish with pickled vegetables. Loin of pork, pan-seared with yuca, and a riff on a traditional orange sauce with garlic and coriander.
Good.
Very good.
You can't forget the whole roasted pig. A few years back, a pretty unthinkable luxury for just about everybody.
Oh, wow, soup.
Wow.
Everything is biological.
Organic,
They have no money.
organic food.
They have no
Yes,
money
for
chemistry.
yes.
Not the pesticides and the hormones yet.
Ooh, wow.
And tamales steamed in the broth from the pig's head soup.
Life is good.
Yeah, it is.
Por tu encanto, María Elena, dueña de mi corazón, yo te canto un sucuzuco en luna llena. María Elena, yeah, ay, mira cómo suena. Vamos a cantarle una conga a la linda, bella María canción. Yeah, lele. Por tu encanto, María Elena, dueña de mi corazón. María Elena, dime toda la verdad. María Elena, tú eres mi problema en la tierra y en la eternidad. María Elena, la constante. María Elena, dime todo. Y dale voz, mamá, y dale voz.
I think our culture is so strong that it's gonna take a lot of tourists and a lot of boats. How do you say?
Cruise ships.
Cruise ships. Yeah. It's gonna take a lot of cruise ships to dissolve these ingredients. We're always like this, with or without tourists.
I like the fresh vegetables. Everywhere you look is the vegetable stand. Neighborhood butcher shops, as most stores often have a line in front of them to get some fresh meats. Some of the more fancier places even has such modern convenience as refrigeration. Hola! ¿Qué pasa? Where the meat will go. This isn't exactly Kentucky Fried Chicken, but the prices are right. So we're gonna try some of this chicken. Dos, por favor. The more formal restaurants have bigger windows. And there is plenty of people that'll bring the food to you.
Poquito, poquito.
You can even buy brooms from the traveling broom lady. Everything you ever want, you can get right on the street. It's just so convenient. You can always tell the better windows restaurants. Here, no one's at. Let's go to the one right next door, and there's a line of people. Ah, you know this is one of the better windows with everyone eating. Some breakfast places even have a smoking section. Hola, ¿qué pasa?
Tómate un coffee.
Café?
Coffee.
Only $1 peso?
Coffee. Ven, tómate un coffee. Ven, tómate un coffee para que veas qué rico el café cubano.
I don't think I got a peso. This could be bad.
Un pesito.
It's really hard to say no to Cuban coffee. Oh, but I can't resist these. Hola. 5, por favor. Gracias. I can't just eat these tarts plain. I have to have some cortadito. So cortadito is only 2 pesos. And hola. Un cortadito, por favor. And that's the secret ingredient. Oh, bueno. Oh, she's fixing me up. Rocket fuel. Oh, 2 scoops, just like Raisin Bran. Say something. Hable español.
¿Qué te digo? Que disfruta tu cortadito.
Gracias.
Y un pastel.
Perfect. Now we dip that in there. Oh, it's so good! All of Cuba isn't like what you've seen. There's plenty of this just for the tourists if this is more your cup of tea.